Namaste. We all keep saying we need to surrender to God. We need to surrender to God. Parabhakti says we need to surrender to God, and this is the most efficient, highest form of devotion which Devi Ma likes, Lord Vishnu loves, Lord Shiva loves. So now, what is surrendering? What are the steps involved in surrendering? So in this series, we are gonna deep dive into the concepts of surrendering because this is one of the easiest and best ways for us to help us resolve our karmic imprints or let go of the ego based self and embrace divine self. So stay tuned, stay till the end of the video to get benefit to help you get free from your recurring problems. First is understanding the concept. Second is applying this knowledge into your life. And don't worry, I'm there right with you. Let's together cross that path in the areas you're struggling with if you allow. So there are 6 steps for surrendering. Surrendering is it's there in Vaishnava concept, it's there in Shiva concept, Shaivism, it's also there in Shaktism. So basically it involves step by step. There need not be like a sequential step. It all can come together or it can by one after the other like a sequence. But essentially each one of us go through each of these phases when you are surrendering to divine. The first is Anukulasya Sankalpam, which is I need to act in a way that pleases to divine will or divine plan. Okay. And then how do I get to there? What are the things that will help me get there? Is perhaps to understand what does God loves or what does the divine I bestow upon loves. To understand, I may want to deep dive into their Puranas or their Granthas or relating with their stories. So, in a lot of scriptures which are for Devi Ma, it is Triparahasya or Durga Saptasati or Khadgamala Stotram. So, Devi Bhagavatam. So, there are a lot of these kind of scriptures that helps if it is Lord Shiva, it is Shiva Puranam. If it is Lord Krishna or Vishnu, it is Vishnu Puranam or Bhagavad Gita. So each of these, or Linga Puranam, even for Lord Shiva, I found that also very good. And Potana Bhagavatam. So that's also very good element. We can derive some understanding on what is like what does that look like? What does God loves me? Tirumantiriyam. Oh, that is a very wonderful book again. I really got confidence in my teachings after I read all of these. So I think that is also a wonderful book you can also follow up on to understand what really God pleases and how and understanding what he pleases and how she. Shiva Shakti is what I really say when I talk about Devi Ma. I pray her in the Shakti form. So and Shakti without Purusha, Prakriti Purusha is the Shakti I'm talking about. So I'm not differentiating here any, but the concept remains the same. Then it is Pratikulasya Varjanam is avoiding what God don't like or avoiding what is not aligned with divine path. Okay, that is Pratikulya is it's reverse, right? So whatever is resisting, so whatever God is not asked us to walk on that path, we're not supposed to walk on that path. Again, to understand that, you may have to let go of that ego-driven self and avoid doing those actions which are aligned with our ego self, ego-driven self, maybe with anger, greed, ego, selfishness, jealousy, me, overly attachment towards me, mine. All of these things are what which divine doesn't appreciate. So basically, I'm giving concept. In the coming series, let's look into each of the problem we are facing and how do we apply surrender to it. Okay. So by doing so, And when we reflect upon these things, we will be able to understand. So when we read scriptures, when we do service in temples, when you do worship at or go to pilgrimages, or when we are or when you are on a dharma path, okay, that's what God loves at a in mass. What is adharma is something which is our coming from our offenses, sins, egocentric uh, self. So that is where divine doesn't like. So these are the two things which we might have to avoid. One is anukulasya, sankalpam is what we need to align ourselves, and whatever is a pratikulasya, varjanam, we need to leave. Okay, we need to leave whatever is a pratipulam. And then Rakshishyatiti Viswasaha. So Rakshishyatiti Viswasaha means that strengthening that faith that you are the only one who can protect. Okay, so if you listen to Devi Saptasati, Durga Saptasati, or Tripura Rahasya, or even in Devi Bhagavatam, you will find countless stories on how divine will protect us. How divine will aid us at the right moment. Even if you read Gajendra Mokshan, that is one of the very beautiful things which talks about surrender. I mean, I really love it. So that will help us how we can um, how we will be able to help ourselves understand that there is God and God can help us to protect, or God is there to protect. Okay. When I read Tirumular's, he is a Siddhar, and it is there in Kindle also. Tirumantariyam. It is a series of poems which talks about this Anavamala and Malas I keep talking, and how this all aligned with the Jivi, and from there it takes upon a philosophical note on how, with surrendering step by step, we can get closer to Lord Shiva. And when we looked at even in the um, Saundarya Lahari, there is that also. That's the highest poem or a stotram that disposits Ma as Atiloka, you know, uh, Jagadeka at that place of highest. Okay, I don't want to use Telugu. So she's at the high epitome, you know, and since she is at the place, she's the one we can bestow upon. So there is a kind of understanding that seeps in through that recitation, and understanding the inner meaning of Saundarya Lahari also. Then Goptrutva Varanam, which is I understand that God will protect me. Okay. Now I'm telling, will my God protect me? Is where I'm coming to here. So I building that faith on this form of goddess which will protect me. So there is in that's the beauty of our Hinduism. So there are one God, and then there are the forms, the manifestations of Ambika, or manifestations of Lord Shiva, or manifestations of Lord Vishnu. So we can look at which is that God that I relate with, which I can have that firm faith that this God is the only God who can protect me from this current state I am in. So that understanding, okay, when things are at this place of pain, I would not again say deity hopping, but to explore which is that God. So we are looking at Ishta Devata, our Kula Devata, and our village Grama Devata, which we are. So and oftentimes these are the gods who, you know, the God which is our Kula Devata is the one who is supposed to protect us at times. But then, who is our Kula Devata? Your parents might say, or your lineage, whoever you are being bestowing upon. But then you suddenly build an affinity or liking towards another God, which may or may not belong to the same set also, or your family doesn't bestow at all, but you suddenly take an incline towards that God. totally acceptable because divinity is totally a personal experience. So it is not that end of the day they're all divine mother and divine supreme. So you take the form which speaks to you, which talks to you, and then take that firm affirmation that this is the form of God that I think is the sole protector of me. And I bestow upon to that. Even if you are a Krishna or Lord Vishnu, so when some people take the Lord Venkateswara as their the sole protector, or someone seeks refuge under Lord Krishna, and some in Perumala, and some on Ranganatha Swami, in some in um, different forms, Narasimha Swami. So there are Lord Rama to that matter. So each of us are so personal choices. So we can bestow onto that form of manifestation that speaks to me, that I feel connected, and say that Gop Goptrutva, Goptrutva Varanam is something which I say, this is the form of God I can relate with, and I think he or she is the only one who can help me from this problem resolution or wish fulfillment or my spiritual growth. So I can totally acceptable. Then it is karpanyam, which is telling I can't, showing my vulnerability in front of God. That knowing that it's totally acceptable to be vulnerable in front of my deity or my mother or my father to that matter. I say, if you look at Bhakta Ramadas or Kabir Das or Anamacharya's Kirtanas, um, Purandaradas Kirtanams, Tyagaraja Kirtanams, there is a underneath tone of helplessness and say requesting a plea that please help me, pull me out from this place of suffering or from this cycle of samsara bandhanas and liberate me. There will be songs on these forms. Why? Because that's what we need to derive our sense of understanding that it is required for me to understand that I might not solve all my problems. The ego self in me says, I need to control, I work hard, 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 and one time I fail. And at that place of point, I come to this place of, getting into depression is not the key. Understanding that, yes, this is my limitation, and it's so for every human. I don't need to get depressed on it. All I need to do is surrender. And I say, yes, God, I know you are the one whom I will align with your work. I will align with your path. I will stop doing things that is not aligned with your path. And I know in general that you are a very merciful God. And this form of God speaks to me. So I'm going to really, really bestow upon you and pray and do things that really pleases you. And I know without your support I can't solve this problem, I can't get away from this pain, I won't be able to get to that wish, I won't be able to have the growth or moksha, whatever that is your desire at this point of time. And then anything that happens, good or bad, am I in a place? What is humility is not just saying I'm not in a I'm nobody, I can't do anything, but also giving back the gratitude. So the general tendency is when it is success, it's mine, but when it is failure, it is because of others. From that, when you're doing your Goptrutva Varanam, you know that this is the only God that will help me out from this abyss. So I'm gonna rely only on this God. I'm only gonna do things that pleases. Before I take some action, or before I do anything, I'm gonna cross check. Will this pleases my God? Is this aligned with my divine path? Is this, and I will stop going behind people or others whom I think will support. So imagine the moment I think only God, this form of God is the one who is gonna help me, and there is nobody else who can. Will I go for people pleasing? Will I go behind power, wealth, or will I go on doing things that are I don't feel like doing, but I have to do because if I don't, some people may get angry. Because others may get angry or not. End of the day, if today my current problem has to get solved, or if my God is pleased with me, nobody else will get angry on me. Maybe that's another way to look at it. So can I build that kind of confidence that if I please my God, it's enough. I don't want to please anybody. I don't need to run behind any wealth or power, because if it is something that he has to give, she has to give, she will give. That doesn't mean I should not do my actions. I need to take actions that are aligned with divine, but leaving that attachment for that outcome that I think is the outcome. A particular outcome, God's plan will always be majestic, and mine will be coming from egocentricness. So, with my egocentric, I think I getting this is what is helpful because of my power. And why am I getting this need for power? Because in some life I would have been humiliated and now have this inherent need to show my power. And me getting this place, this status, this object, this car, this thing is showing my power. I'm going behind in that without giving two hoots about whether I'm on the path to Dharma or not, whether I'm in this process pleasing God or displeasing God, adding to negative points. So that will not help me unless until I get out of this karmic imprint which is leading my egocentric self and embrace divine self through surrendering. Moksha is not happening. So I'll be taking birth over birth, birth over birth. And in the same world I am in the loop I am in, adding more and more negative karma rather than letting go. So my agami is going more. I came here to reduce my prarabdha karma and I'm increasing my agami karma. Okay. So what's the point? So that is adding to the big pile of my karma, sanchita karma. So what's the point? So that is where we need to get conscious about. And if you are watching this video, perhaps you are already in that path. Otherwise, you won't be seeing this content, right? So now after you get to that place of, okay, whether am I looking at my actions in a more aligned with divine, and am I in a place of treating or not going behind these things as a way to prove something from an egocentric self. How do we get to there? We'll talk in the next videos, but at least at this point, please get the concept. Okay. After that, I offer both my achievements or my failures as equally, saying if some failure has happened, perhaps I think divine grace is not there in that place. That's why it failed. Okay. Acknowledgement of, okay, if I have succeeded in this, oh, looks like divine grace is there. Oh, nice. So I might have to keep doing this more. So that will be our testaments to what needs to be repeated and what needs to be not repeated. So if there is something that is being done with lot of pain, lot of lack of freedom, hard work, effort, the being feels constrained, constricted, perhaps you may have to look at um, that's not something God is. The path is not aligned with God being. But if there is liberation, if there is expansiveness of being, there is pure joy, contentment, and then things work the way you wanted it to work, that means it's definitely aligned with divine plan. And at that place, what you might want to tell to yourself is, I'm so thankful. Thank you, God, for giving me this insight that this is what you want me to repeat. This is what you want me to work on. This is what is the path you want me to walk on. Oh, wow. Thank you for this, helping me. I know you are very, very kind in guiding me. I know you would support me in my path and endeavors. And you're taking me this path of teaching me step by step. I'm so thankful. Because of that, I got successful. If there is something I'm feeling, I'm thinking, oh God, I think I missed something. Can you please help me see light? Can you help me, give me more clarity, more guidance? Anyways, I'm unable without you. I can't learn by myself. I can't understand things by my own. So perhaps I made some mistake. Please show me, shed me light, show me something which is missing. That's a conversation have to have to God, rather than saying I did it, I did, I. That I part has to just get as much as part. Please shed it. It's only divine who is making us do things. And if some things are working, it's divine grace. If something is not working, there needs to be a spotlight on how to acquire divine light or divine grace in that space. If that is the place, then we are in this place of Goptrutva Varanam. Then or Karpanyam, which is building the humility towards that I understand my limitation. I am nothing in front of you. That state. Then is Atma Nikshepam, which is totally surrendering myself through my way of living, through my being. Okay, whatever you say, I'm fine. Whatever you give me, I'm fine. What you know, God, what is good for me, what is not good for me. So I know you will definitely give things that are in accordance with my life's karma and your will. So please, I'm acceptful of everything, whatever you say. So all of these steps requires us to acquire divine grace, to renounce our ego, our ahankara, our false identity that we have built due to our karmic imprints, and live life or attain or retune our life in alignment with divine will. So this is something which is very, very important as a summary to surrender. So only when I say, okay, well, I'm serving Divine Mother is where my when I'm serving her, I know that she will protect me. When I'm reciting her stotra, I know her unconditional love for me. And when I'm knowing the meaning, I connect with her in a deeper sense to understand that she is there for me. Because in all the stotrams or any of the stotrams or any of the Durga Sapsati, any of there is a inner hand in inner meaning behind each of those mantras and slokas, which is giving us that confidence that if she is this kind of a form, this manifestation, who has these tools, who's holding these kind of thing, who is fighting with these kind of demons or any of these, she's so majestic, so gigantic, but unconditionally giving and loving, merciful mother. I'm understanding her traits like this and then relate her with me, automatically I can connect with her, and the surrendering part or doing the sadhana because of love for her becomes so easy and natural. Otherwise, what happens is it's like through force. Okay. So right now we are talking about total surrendering, which is I and God are same. Okay. I have a small I will not say a contradictory view about this merging with God, because that's what each of our, even when we do our japa sadhana, Atma and Paramatma becomes one is what you feel the mantra siddhi has happened. But then I have a take of when I did, when I got into a samadhi state, and I keep getting into it every day during meditation, we get there. By practice you will achieve that. It's okay, nothing big about it, it's divine grace, that's all. But the point I want to make is, it was very hard for me even today to see her in my heart merging with my own atma, because I feel my place is somewhere around her feet, and if she can give me that place, I'm super happy with me, with my, I have achieved a lot in my life, that kind of feeling I have. So it was very difficult for me to leave out that part. And, you know, when I'm doing the mantra sadhana, seeing my goddess in my heart center, and merging her with my own atma is one experience, but doesn't mean I and her are same. You get my point? So I still, in myself, I say, I am your servant. You do whatever you want with me. That is the beingness. But I can see the God in my heart and I merge with my divine me. Is Samadhi state. So theoretically, you get one with your God and you total surrender. But I personally still feel that still will build that spiritual ego. Because when I spoke with many gurus, the moment they got this oneness with divine, they feel they and gods are same. Okay. I in one of the times Lalita Ma came because that guru was Lalita Ma's ardent follower. So he said she started through me. She was speaking and said, "How can you and me become same? You are a devotee and sadhak, and you and me can't become one. So please don't tell that I am in I am you and you and me. You are me. You can say that I have attained samadhi state, but give the respect as um, Bhuvalokanaiki to me, like that she was telling. But then look at the spiritual ego of that guru, that he was still resisting. He was telling, "Oh, you are only these many years into this sadhana. You don't even understand what I'm saying." I just kept quiet because I felt he's still not there to understand what or what Ma is trying to uh, communicate to him. Uh, and I said, "Okay, sorry, Guru, it's not me. And that Mata has come through me. So please excuse me." I just told like that and came off. But when I reflected, I understood what she was saying. And that is when I got this closure to my thing on how how can me and Bihar become one. She's somewhere. If you just do her Nava Varna uh, puja, she know how many layers and where she is. If you look at so many layers are there to reach. And she, just by doing Lalita Sahasranama, we are thinking, oh, she's so accessible. That's her greatness. Is that she seems to be so accessible to us through just that 1,000 names Parayana. But to look at really her place, Manidvipa, where all she's in which. So that's her place. That's her. Even Jambudvip, you read Bhagavata. She's somewhere in those places, and how can we think we and her are same? We get small place at her feet, it's enough, right? So that's the wisdom I want each one of you to hold. Though when you're practicing your mantra japa, I want you to experience that oneness with God. That feeling that yes, you are oneness with God, but that doesn't mean you and God are same. But perhaps you accept your being, that you are doing down your entire being in front of her, saying, "Amma, I am yours. You do whatever you want to do with me." That kind of sentiment. I'm not sure whether I made it clear or not, but that's what I feel makes the experience more rich and enhanced. So this is on the 6 steps, whatever in whichever language, either you are a Shiva Bhakt or Shakti Bhakt or Lord Vishnu's Bhakt, it's all talking about the same feelings of how I am offering myself in different ways by doing or acting in ways which are aligned with my divine self, discarding things that are driven from my ego based self, serving divine as a way of solo protector, and also aligning both the accomplishments and failures as a way to understand getting divine grace and not acting from egocentric self, while showing your vulnerability that I'm nobody in front of you, and with all my might and being choosing that Devta, maybe Bhavani, maybe Lord Shiva, maybe Lord Vishnu, as the supreme who I'm I'm totally bestowing upon. So when I'm merging with again divine, it doesn't my way I want you to take is I'm fully offering myself to goddess or godma. That is total surrendering. In that process, I'm totally working on renunciating my ego driven self, okay, whichever is harmful to me in releasing my karmic imprints or binding me in this cycle of death and birth. Okay. So that egocentric self may include my harmful actions or my impulsive actions or my uh, distressful emotional states I go through with people or myself or my ambitions, my attachment towards my body or things or people or states or certain materialistic world objects and stuff like that. So when I'm renunciating it and when I'm not saying you shouldn't have it, but you shouldn't have that attachment. If Maya is blissfully blessing you all with all that, it's, you need to know that, okay, I'm aligning myself with the path and that's why God is blessing me. Not because I'm attached with this particular thing. You get my difference, right? So in the coming videos, let's talk about how do we first know what is that action that is aligned with divine plan when already we have certain karmic imprints in our life. So let's understand the role of karmic imprints and then what happens when our kundalini raises. All of such things to first understand to the step one of Saranagati. All right. So in case if you have any, and also I'm wanting to add some few examples also because that's how it can get really you can understand the use cases. In case if you would want to help me understand or help you understand the concept of how to surrender using a problem that you are going through, please feel free to, this is a safe space. So feel free to put it on a comment box. So we will discuss that in the upcoming videos also. All right. So thank you so much and stay tuned for the upcoming videos. And in case if you're somebody who have not subscribed, please do. That course that will help us um, in our mission that we touch every person and enable them to be a happy being. Thank you.